What did the Hellcat do for you?
The Hellcat was,
It got a lot of headlines when it came out for good reason.
yeah, yeah, the Hellcat. The funny thing is, if you think about the cars, when we end this era, we will have sold, call it, 3 million muscle cars. By the time we stop producing that car that we know today in Brampton, we will have sold 3 million muscle cars and 1 billion horsepower. And so
A billion horsepower. What a measurement.
and so everybody looks at that and says, wow, 3 million muscle cars, it's amazing, blah, blah, blah. Hellcat. And I said, well, hang on. Out of the 3 million, 80,000 of them were Hellcats. And the reason for that is, I mean, it's a tiny percentage, really, if you think about it.
Mhm.
The reason for that is our whole sales strategy is not, the traditional sales strategy was good, better, best. I'm going to tell you the price point of the entry level car, but you're not going to want the black bumper. So you're going to step up to the next car and yada, yada, yada. We do the exact opposite. We sell from the top down. All we ever talk about is red eyes and demons and Hellcats and all this stuff. And we want you to get excited about that and then buy through the lineup. So Hellcat was critical for us because it helped us sell from the top down. It helped us leapfrog where everyone else was in the competition. Because you think about it, before we had Hellcat, we had the 6.1 SRT, 425 horsepower when we launched that car, and we were actually underpowered to the competition and bigger and less brake than the competition. So we weren't really super competitive right out of the box. And so Hellcat helped us leapfrog into that space. But it was way more than horsepower. It was way more than the 80,000 that we will have ended up selling during that period. Because if you really tracked that car, when we first started selling or first started talking about that car was called the SRT, the supercharged SRT. It was not called a Hellcat. Absolutely was not called a Hellcat. Didn't have a Hellcat logo on anything. And there are people that have the badge that says supercharged on it because the first cars that came off the assembly line didn't have a Hellcat on it, weren't called that, didn't have it, and they just had a supercharged badge on it. So the pre-production cars, some people got a hold of those badges, and someday those badges will be valuable. What we decided to do was, I remember distinctly, Bob Lee was the head of powertrain at the time, and I happened to be in a meeting, and we were talking about the development of the car, and we, of course, just like brand people do, we were pushing them. We need more, we need more, we need more, we need more. And he, in the conversation, said the word Hellcat. And Hellcat was the code name within his team developing the engine privately. It wasn't in any of the documentation. It was just the code name that they called the car. And I said, whoa, what did you say? Now, Hellcat was the name of a plane, and Bob was he was really into the old military planes. And so he always named the things after old military planes. That's why he had Apache and things like that. I said, well, Hellcat, that's an amazing word. What is that? And I wasn't familiar with the aircraft. I don't know. I just love the word. And I became obsessed with the word. And so we quickly started working on what does a Hellcat look like? What could it look like? And the guys in design, they were going crazy because we went through so many iterations of that logo. It's mind-boggling how many iterations of that logo we went. And by the time we finally settled on it and got it done, that's why if you look at the first generation Hellcats, the logo is just a little plastic, flimsy little badge on the fender because we had no time. There was no time left. We made the quickest, cheapest, fastest badge we could make, and literally in some cases had to ship them to rail yards and have them put on at the rail yards and at dealerships
Wow.
and things like that because it was that late.
Wow.
But the reason that we did that, and getting back to the point, the reason that we did that is because it goes back to that idea of not selling you a car, selling you or giving you an invitation to our party. And the key to doing that is to create attachment with the product. And attachment with the product comes from visualization of what the product represents for you and how you can communicate it to other people that you're talking to about. You can't say, hey, I got the 3XLE. What the 3XLE? What the hell is that? I got a Hellcat. Oh, got it. I got a Scat Pack. Got it. I got a Demon. Got it. I got a Red Eye. Got it. I mean, you tell a guy that it's got a Red Eye, oh, I like your Hellcat. He's going to stop you immediately. No, it's not a Hellcat. It's a Red Eye. Why is it a Red Eye? It's got 100 horsepower more, and I paid 10 grand more for it. It's a Red Eye. Don't call it a Hellcat. It's that visualization. It's that attachment that makes that brotherhood. It makes that bond amongst these people. So yes, it was amazing because it leapfrogged performance. Yes, it was great because we got all these headlines on it. But it was really the start of that creation of visualization and attachment that from there, we went to Scat Pack, and Scat Pack to me is probably the best example ever. Scat Pack's our fastest turning, highest volume car that we have today. Do you know the Scat Pack existed before the Scat Pack existed?
No.
Absolutely identical car, sold about 1% of our mix. We changed it to Scat Pack, put the logo on it, created visualization and identification, and went from 1% to 40%.
And now it's its own private party.